Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Sales TV. And I'm thrilled to have my old friend and ex-colleague and buddy David Pugsley joining us today for a chat about. Well, I guess we're going to start by talking about the uncomfortable truths of is more emails, more touch points actually leading to more sales and more conversations, or is there a smarter way to do things? But I'm sure we'll end up in all sorts of other areas during the course of the conversation.
Bounty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hang on, I'll just send you an email.
Yeah, well, several, I hope. David, first of all, introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, everybody. I had a very funny experience the other day because I've done something on LinkedIn for the past 2.5 years. And one of my colleagues said, "What on earth is Feet Wet Friday about?" So I am the inventor of Feet Wet Friday, as well as
Yes, you are.
currently working at an organisation called Salesforce, where I've worked for the past couple of years. I've worked at various technology companies over quite a considerable length of time, and I started off my career in the Royal Navy, where I was a logistics officer. So I did that for a bit, and then joined the wonderful world of technology, which mainly because I was quite excited by the way technology was going, and I thought, oh, this sounds good, and quite like the idea of being involved in the technology world, and so I came into it, and I'm very, very honoured and pleased to be sat in Salesforce Tower at the sort of like, I wouldn't say the twilight of my career, but definitely towards the end of my technology career. I am obviously planning on a new career once I finish this one, but that's another story.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because you've gradually, I guess, throughout your career, moved closer and closer and closer to the cutting edge of technology. Whereas I think many people, they do that when they're young, and as they get older, they kind of go into the calmer waters of something which is more stable. But you're I believe it's kind of the bleeding edge, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the very forefront of this stuff.
No, it's an amazing time to be alive and to be in a company like Salesforce, for sure. And it's I feel just like amazed that I'm even here. I keep on expecting him to say, "Oh, you're a bit old, get out."
So I guess that the headline for today was sellers are told to do more.
Yeah.
Phone more, email more, go to more events, more touch points. You've got to touch people 9 times before they will have a conversation with you. It's a numbers game and all of this stuff. But I guess the reality is that the buyer is getting so bombarded by this stuff. You're one of 100 people that's trying to sell me something. You reach out to me 9 times. That's 1,000 pieces of outreach nearly.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to buy from one of you. And actually, I want to be the one that chooses that. So does more equal more?
I think it's a very interesting question, because I think at one level, of course, if you work for a large brand, then there is a certain element of if you reach out to people with a large brand name on your tag, it's kind of like you're bound to rise above to a certain population of buyers. You will rise above a brand that they don't recognize. I think where but I've worked in all sorts of companies, and what I do know is that when you work for a small company, which I've done before, you don't have that ability. You don't have that natural ability to sort of write the name, the brand, to rise above the email. But but to be honest, I don't use email anyway for outreach. I've since working with you guys, my outreach is all on LinkedIn anyway. I'm quite surprised when I think to myself, oh, perhaps I should email them. maybe they've actually given me their email. So.
Yeah. I guess that it's interesting, and as before we went live, I mentioned that Tim and I had recently done a presentation to a company that one of your ex-colleagues was at, and used you as an example with your Feet Wet Friday, the inventor of Feet Wet Friday, and the fact that it's an irreverent, fun, foolish, laughy kind of entertaining thing that you do pretty much every week. But its brilliance is not in the fact that there's you kind of doing a selfie and grinning at the camera saying, look, my feet are in the Thames. It's the fact that somebody who does that can't be a threat.
Yeah.
And consequently, when you say to them, hello, do you want to have a call? They go, yeah, why not? Because you're not going to be one of those hideous salesmen that grabs me by the lapels and wrestles me to the ground to get an order out of me. And I mean, have you found that since you've developed your kind of, I guess, your online persona and this methodology that you have developed, has that meant that doors have opened that otherwise wouldn't have done?
Yeah, I think so. Certainly, when my experience is obviously that is so. I think one of the I suppose there's a couple of things, because you and I have had many chats over the years about kind of like why doesn't everybody do this, and I because it's not that difficult to do stuff online. I think one of the interesting things that I was looking at my Twitter feeds the other day, and I don't use Twitter anymore at all, but I'd actually had a Twitter post, a tweet. That's what we used to call it, wasn't it? Back in the day.
Yeah.
A tweet go viral, and it was actually 10 years ago. And I was thinking, gosh, I've actually been at this longer than I thought. And so I suppose, one of the things about social media is that you I talk to lots and lots of people about social media and my presence on social media, and I advise quite a few people, particularly in, I'm involved in the City of London, and I speak to people in, organisations in the city about, using social media, volunteer organisations in the city about using social media to sort of, enhance their presence. And I think, one of the things that I notice when I talk to a lot of people is some people, they get it and they start building up. Because I always say to people, just let me know when you post, and I'll leap on and just say great or whatever, and encourage them. But some people find that they're not. The ability to do something in social media, I think, there is a challenge there, and I think for people, an internal challenge for people to understand that actually, putting yourself out on social media can be a good thing. Now, I totally understand. I was talking to a lady yesterday, and I totally understand for particularly for ladies more than men, there is a challenge. You do get some trolls around, particularly if I've obviously never had that problem because I'm an old white bloke. But there are problems if you are putting yourself out there, because people can troll you. And so I think so. I do understand that, and I do understand the reluctance of some people because of that sort of fear of that behaviour occurring. I suppose, and this was a conversation I had with this lady yesterday, was that I suppose the thing is that providing, and to a certain extent, that's why my content is the way it is. Providing you're not actually producing something that someone feels troll worthy, then it can it's kind of limited in its kind of like people leaping on it. Although some people have I posted something to the day about explaining technology to what I call normal people, and even when I was doing the posts, I was thinking, I bet this all kind of like there'll be some reaction to this, and there was. And because what's a normal person? It's kind of like my point was about my explaining it, but someone obviously picked up on it, so I think that's you have to be careful, and you have to use it wisely. But it is a great way to, because the fundamental problem with any organization that you're trying to speak to another organization, the fundamental problem is you want to engage with people so that you can understand what problems they've got.
That was going to be the next question, because this is a means to an end, isn't it?
Yeah.
The reason that you're on social is to get conversations, because I remember I was speaking to an organization, and it may even have been Salesforce, where I said to the sales leader, can your sales team sell? The sales leader said, yeah. Okay, so why have you got no pipeline then? And what I would suggest it's because you've not got anyone to sell to, because no one will take a conversation with you, because they know what's going to happen as a result of that. And I think that part of your skill, I mean, clearly you understand about how to talk to the buyer, how to understand their needs, how to map the solutions against the problems that they feel that they have, and they want to solve those problems, and how to build trust with them. But you can only do any of that if you're actually engaged in a conversation, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the fundamental tenet of any social interaction, isn't it? You can't when you're sort of like talking to. I mean, you always use the cocktail party, or is it Tim always uses the sort of cocktail party analogy of kind of going out to people and saying, "Would you like to buy something from me?"
yeah, and it sounds like a joke when you say it, but the reality is that is how many salespeople are, and this whole idea that I need to, and this is the point, isn't it? There's a big thing in sales about having to build credibility and trust and rapport as quickly as possible, and demonstrate your unique attributes in the product.
Yeah.
Actually, I always think that until I have bought from you, it's all just words. Every company has got the solution to my problem. Every company is market leading. Every company is customer focused. Every company is, so it's all just words.
Yeah.
And those words only land, and I only actually listen to what you say if I know you and like you.
Yeah.
And I think that I've always thought it very strange that this idea of multi-threading or omni-channel outreach, where I'm going to send you a connection request on LinkedIn, and I'm going to phone you, and then I'm going to send you an email, and then I'm going to like a couple of your posts, and then I'm going to follow up with an email, and then I'm going to do such. It is a good way of getting blocked on multiple platforms rather than just one, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think I think there is definitely a place for some people. If you work in a large organisation like I do, we are incredibly lucky because we attract some really brilliant people who actually are very, very, very good at picking up the phone and talking to people. I am absolutely hopeless at it. Because it's just not my skill set. I need to. My skill set is building relationships and working out what people's problems are and all of that sort of thing. But we do employ here because we are the company we are. We do employ some people who are extremely good at reaching out to people on phones, and they they have to work bloody hard at it.
Yeah.
And it's obviously it's a job that some people are a lot better at than others. And I think, given the scale that we work at, then obviously we've got many people want to come and work for us, and so therefore you sift out the ones that can actually do that particular job very, very well. Most companies don't have that. You're never going to get that scale to be able to do that, because you're just dipping in too small a pool, and people don't want to come and work for you just to pick up the phone anyway, because it's a bit different if you pick up the phone from Salesforce than if you're picking up the phone from tiny weeny your own software company that nobody's ever heard of. So I think there is. I think the multi-threading thing is interesting. There is a way of doing multi-threading intelligently, and to a certain extent, it's kind of like what happens around here is that I obviously link up to a lot of people and talk to a lot of people, and unbeknownst to me, sometimes those two kind of worlds collide, because I'll be sort of warming someone up over here, and one of my very, very keen and young colleagues will be on the phone to them, and sometimes that works, and because they've kind of like they've got the warmth and everything from me, and the phone call just comes at the right time, and they're willing to have a conversation. So it's sort of interesting how that that can work, but I think you've got to work it in a way that's kind of more intelligent than just like, let's blast everything.
Yeah. So you've got a fantastic way of getting through the door and having conversations with people, because they don't see you as.
Oh, hello.
I don't know what happened there. So you've got a fantastic way of getting through the door and having conversations with people. So how do you then fulfill that promise that you've created? So you're a nice guy, you're always smiling, you part of the face that you show on social, some of it is irreverent and fun, some of it is not, is very professional. When you're in your garb for the City of London stuff, you look like a proper city gent, and somebody that is has huge credibility. So how do you move from kind of he's the friendly guy to being somebody that has credibility and is able and creates the belief? And I say create the belief because until I've bought from you, I don't know whether you can actually do it. Create the belief that you can solve this problem, this burning issue that I have in my business. How do you make that transition?
Well, I think it's very simple, because you're all one person, aren't you? I am that person. So I'm not actually adopting two different personas. I am who I am. And I think what part of that, part of my sort of journey on LinkedIn is being exactly that, showing that I'm not this person over here and that person there. It's all the same person. And I may be wearing a different costume because people expect me to wear a top hat and tails, at certain events in the city. And it's quite fun, because you can go on the underground in your top hat and tails and everyone looks at you, or a kilt for a wedding on Edinburgh Castle, But I think I think the mistake I made early on in my career, and to a certain extent, this is sort of Navy training that did this, was the Navy sort of said, right, we're going to strip you right back and then build you up. So that's, your basic training, and any of the armed services is always about strip out your personality and we'll build you up in the personality that we think a naval officer, in my case, should have. And of course, then, you then spend the next 20 years trying to get rid of that. and coming back to who you are. And I think one of the things that I've, that's the benefit of, being age, the age that I am, is that,
Mid-30s.
yeah, obviously, you get closer and closer as you get older. You get closer and closer to who you really are, because that's just a part of life, isn't it? And I think that's one of the advantages that I've got, is that I don't have to adopt a different persona for different things. If I want to be serious, of course I can be serious, and if I want to get a point across, of course I can get a point across. It's kind of like, but I can do that in a fun and a natural way without having to adopt a different kind of like, oh, I'm now this person rather than that person. And I think that's just experience, I think, as well. And I suppose one of the things about one of the powers of doing video is that they see that, don't they? A viewer of my social feed will see, my my whole person.
Yeah. So would you say that, and I know it's a much overused and hackneyed word, but is being authentic the key to this? Be
Yeah,
yourself,
definitely.
and let people see who you really are.
Definitely. And some of the best advice I've received most recently has been, just be yourself, David. Because there was a recent, I had to do a panel, which is actually, funnily enough, the first panel that I've ever done. Which is really strange, isn't it? But it was a panel discussion at a conference, and I was getting myself in all sorts of knots around. I've got to look, exactly that. I've got to look professional, and come out with all these sort of our Salesforce stories and all that kind of stuff, and the best advice I received, because I was sort of like pitching a couple of different people in rehearsals and practicing, was just be yourself, David. It's like, why are you doing this sort of strange thing that you're not?
And I guess that's in part because these people already knew you through how you behave on social.
Yeah.
So even if they were meeting you for the first time, they kind of already knew who you were.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's kind of like, that's a superpower, isn't it? If you can be yourself, and still have an ability to bring someone on a journey, then that's a really good superpower to have, isn't it? And I think, like all of these things, it's that famous Yoda. There is no try. You've got to do or not do. And the truth is, if you want to be that person, you've got to do it, haven't you? And if you want to do social media, you've got to do it. So if you want to find a way, because, I started social media out of, obviously I've had that longer journey on social media, but the bit we're talking about, outreach and pipeline development, that started for me because I had no pipeline, and I was like, well, what do I do? How do I get pipeline? So I read Tim's book because I couldn't afford your course. And I self-taught myself. But it was a bit like, just for the audience here, it was a bit like I taught myself windsurfing on the same sort of methodology that I can get a book and read it. But let me tell you, windsurfing from a book is not the same as being taught by a professional. And if you want to be taught by professionals, I would thoroughly recommend Tim and Adam.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's very kind. But interestingly, before we went live, we were chatting about a post that I'd seen earlier today about a guy had kind of analysed the amount of money that I'm not sure whether it was his company or one of his clients was spending on sales tech in order that they could do reporting. So they had tools for outreach and sales navigator and a CRM and a voice analysis software and all of these different things. And it was like £9,000 a year.
Yeah.
And they had a personal training budget of £500 a year.
Yeah.
And I think that, we haven't got a huge amount of time left, but explore this for me, if you would. In the world of technology, there's this constant and inexhaustible drive for efficiency and for shortcuts to get from where you are to having a full pipeline, insights, limitless number of leads, etc., etc., etc. But success comes from authenticity, or in
Mm,
my experience, and humanity. And certainly, well, within your company, all of the people that I have seen that have been ultra high performers have all been people that are very good at being human.
mm,
You know,
mm,
maybe they're brilliant technically, maybe they're not, but they are
mm.
brilliant at being human.
Yeah.
And is that something that we need to be mindful of moving forward? That um, the answer isn't in a new tool that provides a constant stream of high quality leads or whatever.
Mm, mm. I think, well, we are entering a very interesting era now with the AI stuff, because I suspect that will, because a large language model can appear to be quite human in its,
Yeah.
way of interacting. And I suspect we'll see some companies come up with some, ways of appearing human in that sort of interaction, and it will be fascinating to see kind of like how that plays out, because obviously there is that bit where you get the kind of like something that appears human, and then you discover it's not. So you've got to be kind of like really really cautious around how that works. But I think, for a large organization like Salesforce, the problem that and I'm sure other, well, I know from other corporates I've worked for, the the main problem is about control, and so you want stats that continually tell you, like what's, how many calls are being made, or how many emails being sent, or how many whatever's. And so therefore, what the pipeline is, and where trying to measure how things are moving through pipeline and stuff. And I think what the humanity is all at the front end of that, because it's like you don't have those conversations without the humanity. And I think that's where the problem most corporates have is they find it really really difficult to measure the humanity, and measure the effect of training on people. What is the effect of giving someone a training course versus investing in more tech.
Mm. Yeah. So it, because I mean, one of the stats that you're familiar with, the ISP, and we do
Mm,
loads of work with the ISP. One of the stats is that there's more money now being spent on sales tech than ever before, and a
mm,
smaller and smaller proportion of sales reps are achieving their quota.
mm,
So we've got kind of this bit that should be helping people to make their quota is going up and up and up and up and up, and this bit
mm.
that should be the result of that is going down and down and down and down and down. Now there are a
Yeah.
whole host of, it's a challenging market at the moment. There's a lot more competition. Salespeople are being overquoted, and all of these.
Mm,
But arguably, the reason that you're doing this one, which is going up, is to address this problem, and it's failing to do so.
mm, mm.
And I think moving forward, we need to tread very carefully, don't we?
Yeah, no, for sure. Particularly as we are entering a very different world. I feel from the world we've all experienced for the last 20 odd years, and it's accelerating fast. So I think we've got to be alive to the possibility, that we could go this way or that way, and we need as humans to be ourselves, so keep everything human, and make sure that the human to human interaction is the most important thing.
Absolutely. David, thank you so much for coming on the show. So where can people get in touch with you?
So I am mainly on LinkedIn.
There's a surprise.
Or you can email me or telephone me. My details are indeed on my contact on LinkedIn. So please feel free to reach out. I'm very happy to have a conversation with anybody about about anything basically, but about any of the subjects we've discussed today.
Fantastic. Thank you. And for everyone in the audience, if you'd like to sign up to our newsletter, you can scan the QR code here. And
good newsletter.
Absolutely. Well, we do our best. So, David, thank you so much. And
Thanks, Alan.
everybody in the audience, thank you so much for watching. And until next time.